Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nick, your host for the Omniverse of Nick. And welcome to part 2 of What If Tatum Riley Survived, aka part 2, Tatum's Survival. Now, like always, before we get into today's episode, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick channel, and share or comment your favorite part or parts of ongoing or past stories, as well as future recommendations for what ifs and general discussion, which you can also keep tabs with for all future stuff in the Google Doc in the description of this video and all posts, etc., etc. With all that said, we are ending Scream 1 of Tatum's story and ending off with the beginning of Scream 2. So let's dive in. Tatum has just escaped near death at the hands of Billy, seemingly incapacitating and maybe killing him, getting to the front porch, and Sydney, Randy, and Stu all seeing her at the front door, most of the kids still being there, and everyone having a very surprised reaction to Tatum almost being dead. But Stu, he has a very, very different reaction. Not only is he visibly worried at the fact that Tatum is here, almost dead, but Billy is nowhere to be seen. And the fact that Tatum even survived in the first place. And now it's looking real bad for him because it is kind of, quote-unquote, his second girlfriend and that and everything. So it's very awkward for Stu, but he's keeping his feelings reined in. Meanwhile, Tatum is all over the place, trying to keep pressure on her wound, stab, and the cut, explaining her story, but Sydney tells her to calm down. As number one, she's literally almost dead from the stab wound. They need to take care of her right now. And then, whenever Tatum starts to explain, Sydney is having trouble believing it. But Tatum looks at Sydney like she just spat in her face. And yes, she gets that Sydney's not going to listen to her fully because she's injured and everything like that, but Tatum then clears her throat, keeps the pressure on her wounds, and takes care of them herself, showing what a freaking sick girl she is and a fighter, and explains that Billy Loomis tried to kill her, and she got him, and that he was going after Sydney. Sydney sees that Tatum is actually telling the truth here. She's cognizant, she's aware of everything, and she seems to be telling the truth, but she can't wrap her head around the fact and tells Tatum that Billy? I mean, yes, while it might be true that Billy's actions as of late have been extremely suspicious, the way he has wanted to have Sydney move on from things, the way he was at the house, all of it not lining up, but this, she just can't believe it. We all know how Sydney was with boyfriends and feelings and all that. And Tatum gets that, and she tells Sydney that she gets that, but she tells Sydney to put the dots together. Everything that Billy's done. The house. The actions. The way that he's portrayed himself as the boyfriend. And everything like that. And the fact that she's here, almost dead, and he's nowhere to be seen. What do you think that tells us? And Randy, he actually starts to agree with Tatum and tells Sydney that he thinks that she's telling the truth. Look at all the signs here. And we all know Randy was about, like, the seriousness and horror movie and all that stuff. But before anyone can do anything further, Stu leaps on top of Randy and begins to choke the ever-loving God out of him. But Tatum just runs up to Stu and literally kicks him straight in the nose. But Stu acts like nothing just happened and smirks a devilish, evil, Stu-like smirk. And says that, well, looks like the cat's out of the bag now, and mentions his whole plan with Billy, and that Billy was the mastermind, and that he was, the helper. But now that Billy's dead, it's all on him. So, he has no problem taking them all out now, whether he's outnumbered or not. But he doesn't even get a chance to mount an attack before he is appropriately shot in the chest by Dewey, and with that, he drops to the ground, seemingly knocked out. But it was just to the chest, and it was just to get Stu down. more or less, since it was obvious that he was the killer from Dewey and Gail's perspective, since they returned to the house and all this had happened. The kids would have left by now, so it would literally have just been all of the mains who were there, besides obviously Tatum still being around. And she looks at Dewey and Gail and is like, she begins to want to ask where they have been since all of this has just happened. But inferring and being the smart girl that she is, she knows the freaking lovers and she doesn't care right now. She brings them all to the basement and goes to look for Billy to see if he's actually dead and show proof to Sydney and everyone else, since Stu's now on the ground. But Billy's nowhere to be seen, and Dewey begins to question this, and everyone begins to wonder what's going on here when Dewey is stabbed in the back with a knife, and Randy is punched straight in the face, just like Cannon, and obviously Dewey with the cannon, just differently. And Sydney now sees that Billy's a killer. He's just incapacitated both Randy and Dewey, and she's seemingly next. Definitely next. Because Billy's looking right at her, and they all know everything by this point because Stu explained it. But Gail grabs Dewey's gun, but forgets about the safety thing, and Billy, with a minor cut on the center of his forehead and a small blood stream showing that the knife didn't penetrate through his brain, begins to go right up to Gail and Sydney to attack and kill them. But Tatum runs up to Billy and punches him square in the face as hard as she can and knocks him straight against the wall. Stu, who has come back from the gunshot, yells and leaps straight on to Tatum, choking her even more viciously than Sydney and Cannon, because it's his old girlfriend and it's more personal in this story for Stu, since he thought Billy was dead. But Tatum just smashes a beer bottle on top of his head, runs, gets the TV from the main room, and literally from the basement door to where Stu is knocked out on the ground, throws and chucks the TV square into his head, knocking it straight into Stu's head, who's on the ground, and killing him in a much more brutal way than what was canonically done to him, but about the same, but more brutal, if that makes sense. Billy, who has gotten up from being knocked and punched against the wall, is starting to show a little bit of blood and brain trauma from his head bleeding and all that. It's starting to affect him. Because he's moving more slowly, which allows Sydney to get a ghost face outfit on, stab him with the umbrella, and appropriately shoot him square in the head once he's on the ground. No leaving out this time, even if Randy brought up the whole one last scare thing. Stu kind of already made that happen, but hey, it would be added just for added effect. It's a Scream movie. And Tatum would be very proud of Sydney, stepping up, showing Billy who's boss, and showing that with her help, anything's possible with them, even exposing killers. And this would be the start of a great friendship for Sydney and Tatum, and how Tatum ultimately affected a kind of better outcome in this movie. Even though, Casey had done a lot more before this even happened, but that's beside the point. We already know what happened with Casey. Watch that series if you haven't. Anyway, after all that, Gail just goes off with Kenny and cares no mind, besides a little bit maybe with Dewey seeing if he's okay, but with Kenny still alive and nothing really taken from her, she just goes off. And if she did go, Tatum would pretty much kind of block her out and would only worry about Sydney and Dewey. And after all is said and done, Dewey's okay, they're all patched up, Tatum would remain with Sydney, and they would live together and go on to higher up school and try to pursue a different life than what has just become of them, even though things turned out better in this story so far. Now, Scream 2 approaches with Tatum involved. How will Mrs. Loomis and Mickey's ultimate portrayal in this story be affected with Tatum? And will it be better or worse than the original outing? But that's up for you guys to decide. What will happen next? How'd you like this episode, and what's your favorite part so far? Remember, as always, if you haven't already, like, subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick, and share and comment your favorite part or parts of ongoing or past stories, as well as future recommendations for what-ifs and general discussion. You can also keep tabs with on the Google Doc in the description of this video and all posts and videos. Hope you guys like the Tatum story so far, because it's only going to get more epic from here on out with Tatum's development and the friendships and bonds that will go on.